No, it's okay, you're good. I'd like to call to order the Village of Lansing Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, June 24th, 2025, to order at 7:01 PM. 1 minute early, look at that. You think it was a minute late, but it's a minute early for us. Yeah, we always start at 7:02. Now it's 7:01.
It's a lot of
It
7:01.
says 7
No,
o'clock,
it's
we
7:02.
always start at 7:02.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how it works. We do have a quorum. I do not see Jim online or in person, and I didn't get a note from him, so now that Jonathan has signed his paperwork as an alternate, I am going to appoint Jonathan as a full voting member for this evening.
Cha-ching.
There you go, toss you right in. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Those did get circulated for May 27th, 2025. Does anyone have any other edits they wanted to make to those?
I made the changes of, you guys had said, with
Okay,
Kathleen in there instead of, I thought you meant down where public included, and I didn't see the other one. Hold on.
Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion to approve the May 27th, 2025 meetings.
so moved.
Motion by Amanda,
Second.
by Lisa, all in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is the public comment period. This is an opportunity for anyone, oh, there's Jim right there. How do I do this?
How do you undo it?
Can I undo it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jonathan's just.
Oh, sorry.
Right back.
False alarm.
Hey, Jim.
Sorry, I was gonna call you.
Oh, no, you're good. So, like, I usually get a note. Okay, well, Jim is here now, so I will unappoint Jonathan as a full member for this evening.
Yeah, take my eye back.
So, again, public comment period, this is an opportunity for anyone from the public to bring up anything that's not already on the agenda for this evening.
Carla Marcel, I'm here as an observer for the community.
Hearing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to close the public comment period.
So moved.
Motion by Lisa.
Second.
By Lorraine this time, you got her. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is the public hearing for subdivision 2025-4859. Gorgeous Development LLC is proposing to subdivide a parcel located at 56 Burdick Hill Road, tax parcel number 42.1-1-50.23. Current parcel has lands within the village of Lansing and the town of Lansing. I will entertain a motion to open up a public hearing.
I move that we open up the public hearing for subdivision 2025-4859.
Motion by Lisa.
I will second.
Second by Jim, all in favor?
Okay. Got Jack Litzenberger here, on two fronts. Jack has bought that parcel, what was it, Robin's Nest? Yeah, at the Robin's Nest. At this point, he's looking to divide this into two parcels. There's a couple of moving targets here. A couple things I'll get done with first. I do have the mailings for the public hearing. And this doesn't require any GAF or anything like that. It's a, so we don't have to worry about anything other than the resolution, and that's about it. Jack has provided me with you don't have the official survey, but you do have a copy of it, of what he's trying to do with that. The moving items here are, half of that parcel is in the town of Lansing. And we've kind of run into this before. It's not the owner's issue, it's just the way the municipality has cut things off. The total parcel with the town is almost 5 acres big. So if that were actually in the village and they cut it in half, it meets all the criteria for low-density residential for lot size and whatnot. But the only thing we can deal with at this point is what is in the village. And what is within the village is only 2 acres. So it doesn't matter how you separate it, you're gonna be short with the amount of property within the village to be a conforming parcel. So it's gonna be a non-conforming parcel, which basically means that Jack is, if this approved, Jack is gonna have to go in front of the BZA and get a variance for lot size. He has everything as far as frontage. I think it's 174 feet to 150 feet. The minimum's 150 feet, so he's got everything for that. So that's one of the parts. The other part that I'm suggesting, if you do pass this, A couple of the conditions I would suggest is to make sure that Tompkins County Health Department has room enough for a septic system, okay? Which it more than likely does, but we usually require approval from Tompkins County Department of Health to make sure that they can fit one in there, and for a reserve area for a secondary system. The other item would be, for a condition, is Jack's gonna have to go to the town, he's gonna have to get approval for the back section. So I would have that as a condition also. Other than that, you just need to determine whether it's a minor or major subdivision, which is pretty obvious, but you still have to vote on that. And then, other than that, if Jack's got something to add, then we'll have him do that. Did I cover it all?
Yeah, pretty good at it. Just in general, the septic system that's on the property now that's being remodeled and fixed was approved, has the septic system and can be replaced, and that was under a 2-acre lot, under a 1-acre lot, actually, 0.93, I believe. So the health department already approved that one.
Okay.
On the existing conditions. And on the other side, nothing's been done, there's no test or anything, but it tests out, so.
Just some kind of letter, I mean, you could go up there and get some kind of letter saying that, yes, it is, that parcel would be able to support a septic system on it.
Yep, okay.
And just to remind me, it was, the health department requires 3/4 acre?
I'm sorry,
The health department requires about 3/4 of an acre per septic, or?
no.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't know.
It's been a while since I've had to look at.
I don't know.
Anything else you want to share, Jeff?
Just a question about lead, when we choose between the two, because we've got the town on one side and the village on the other, and you're somewhat quote unquote the lead municipality. What do I have to do, or do you deal with the town? Or is it, have to open up another subdivision, there's no access to that property for the town?
Yeah, you'll have to go up to the town. What I'll do is I'll get a hold of Scott Russell up there, or I'll get a hold of their planning department and let them know the situation, and then let you know, and you'll have to go up there and see what they're going to require for you to split that parcel. It's actually within the town.
And I already applied to them, and that's where they came up with the lead, and I chose you guys because of the street and the access, and there would be more questions about that.
Yep, as
So
soon,
better to start here and not worry about the back, and you know that the stream goes through this property, so you're not really getting quote unquote to the back, but you're owning the property.
as soon as you meet all of the conditions here, which one of the conditions will be approval from the town,
Right,
then we'll end up signing your survey, and you can take it down to register it.
okay, and so the town will generally approve that to you, not to me.
Well, they'll approve you subdividing what is in the actual town.
Okay,
So it'll actually look like 4 parcels when it goes down to the, when it goes down to the county.
How does this work for school and everything?
Well, it doesn't matter, because on the north side of Burdick Hill, it's Lansing anyway.
As long as it's,
Be such an issue if
because he wouldn't be able to,
municipalities weren't.
I guess.
Well, it wouldn't matter, because the north side of Burdick Hill goes to the Lansing School District, and the
Right,
south side,
right.
so all of it would be Lansing School District.
Oh,
All of Burdick, well, maybe not all, but that entire area is in Lansing School District. It's not split.
I thought the north side of Burdick Hill,
Up north, but this is all Lansing.
oh, okay.
Oh, so you your kids go to Lansing?
They can.
Oh, okay.
Did I miss any legal issue with that?
No, you're correct. But the property owner will make the application to the town for the subdivision. We don't make the application on your behalf.
already did.
Yep, it's already gone up.
Okay, perfect. Okay, no, all good.
So we could, if we wanted to tonight, so we do keep public hearings open for 2 meetings. So we don't have at least 2 meetings, so we're not gonna make any decision on this tonight, obviously, and it doesn't seem like we're ready, but we could vote on whether it's a major or minor subdivision.
Yes.
So, I don't know if anyone has any questions or thoughts on that.
Well, it's per code, it meets the code of 1+1, so I suggest that we move to approve that it is a minor subdivision.
There's a motion by Lisa,
Second,
second by Yamila, all in favor? So at least that part of it's done.
That's the, in the meantime, Jack, I'll work on getting the Board of Zoning Appeals together, and I'll get you that paperwork. Because that'll be one of the conditions.
Well, you can stay inside and hang out in the air conditioning, or you can go break the heat if you want. It's up to you. There you go. Okay, thanks for coming in. We'll see you at a subsequent meeting.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Good night.
Chris and
That's
Can I stand?
Yes, so next item on the agenda is 11 Graham Road West, informal discussion. Chris Fiello, Senior Vice President of, I'm gonna mess this up, Unisys? Unisys, it was close. If there was a Y in there, I'd get it right. Unisys Development would like to discuss a possible tenant for 11 Graham Road West, X parcel number 47.1-1-17.13. Mike, anything you want to start with?
I don't, Chris's presentation, Chris has been working with the mayor and myself, trying to find some type of tenant to go into that area that is now owned by Water Strike. There's an Eric Getzman property. At this point, Chris is going to show you something that's going to be replacing the existing building there, possibility.
Right, so the plan, and you may have these, and I potentially wasted $2 million on this stuff, but I don't know if it would be large enough for everyone to see it. The goal is, I don't own that property. I have an option to buy that property. I don't want to do it until I know I can get something done. So the goal is to really develop the whole parcel. It's an eyesore, look, something needs to be done with it. I did not think, I've been working on it for a year on North Strip Hammer, 12,000 cars a day in front of Target. I didn't think it would take me this long. It has been, you've got that Benderson project in Ithaca, that's our main competitor.
I'm sorry, which project?
I'm sorry?
Which project in this?
South Meadow Square,
South Meadow Street, where all the Dick's and everything is.
Oh, yeah, down,
Benderson.
way down there.
way down, but you talk to these restaurants and tenants, and they view it as a little bit of competition. So I've been working to find tenants and really bring the need or what people are looking to do, bring it to here. So food seems to be the biggest focus. I have a deal that I'm working with a national QSR, quick service restaurant, and we're working on planning. I'm not really here almost asking for an approval yet. I thought it was a good idea to come in, present, introduce myself, tell you what I'm looking to do, get a little guidance, and get a feel for what you may or may not allow. So the biggest portion, I'll do this, I can point to it. The one thing I want to note on here,
Do you have an easel? I wonder if Mike.
You do all have a copy of this in front of you, too.
Yes.
Yeah, we do. I
Yeah.
don't know if you had an easel, he could put that on.
Oh, it's,
and I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, North Trip Hammer, the goal is to find 3 tenants to really place here. I will be flat out honest, I have pushed like crazy trying to land Chick-fil-A. That's been my #1 tenant the whole time. I haven't made as much progress there as I want, but that's still something I'm working on. This tenant is Chipotle. So it's a national tenant. There is one down in Ithaca. This would be their second store. This prototype is their newest prototype. And you would enter and funnel in here. The way this plan is done, this was really done by a lot of their engineers and traffic engineers. I want this entrance off of Butler really to be a little bit more centered. So I want one entrance off of Butler to flow to the different ones. only because this is the farthest I'm on any deal. They kind of lined it up here, and I didn't want to waste the time having them corrected. The one thing I want to point your attention to, and this came from the Chipotle engineers on traffic flow, is they are going to ask for a curb cut on North Trip Hammer. It is a right-in, right-out curb cut only, no left turns. Obviously, you've got the signal here. This triangle curbing is not really emphasized as much as it needs to. It needs to be, your car has no choice but to turn right in, and as you're exiting, you're turning right out. So this curbing, the reason why that's there is to help the flow of traffic and make sure it's very apparent that there is no left turn out of there, which potentially could be a concern. So again, this is a, just wanted to introduce myself, give you an update as to where I am, and then get a read on if this would be considered, understand what your concerns are, and then see what I can do to address them.
Well, one of the concerns, I spoke with John Courtney from our DPW, and he's looking up the language that something that when we did get a partial grant to expand Trip Hammer Road, part of the language had something to do with no more curb cuts coming out on there. I'm not sure, but John had emphasized he thought that was in there, and he's going to be researching that now. So I just want to get that out there for you.
Okay. Understood. And this is not an ask that this came from the architects and engineers of Chipotle, of just the way this traffic is going to flow. They are going to do, a decent business. And so it helped, again, according to them, this was something that they are going to ask for, with understanding that concern. And I don't know if it specifies, it is a curb cut, right? You can't argue it's a curb cut, but it's a right in, right out. I don't know if that would make any kind of a difference. So are there any other questions that you may have on what my intent is or what I'm trying to accomplish here?
It was mentioned somewhere in an email about a drive-through. I don't know if that's specific to this or to one of you, three things on here. Three things all together. I see there's another parcel up there too, more towards Oak Crest and Hickory. I think that was originally the commercial cutout for Chow. Yeah, was that the commercial cutout? Was that the?
Well, we didn't allow Chow to do drive-through when they went in.
But is there a plan for a drive-through?
There?
At any of these starts?
I think do you have a larger version of this? If you don't,
This one. Oh, yeah, that one, this one.
So,
I think this would help us clarify for everyone what it is that.
That's the one that I was looking at.
yeah, thank you. So this was, I did this a year ago or something. This was entirely conceptual. I needed something to go out to the market with, talk to tenants with. I just needed something to show. Now this, which is behind Chow,
That's, yeah, we know that one.
I have nothing. I have
Okay.
nothing.
How about a park?
A what?
A park. That's not.
Do you need ideas?
I'd love ideas, but I'd like ideas that pay rent.
Something we really need up here on the hill, and this is only my opinion, we need a really good coffee shop. And
So I have a coffee shop I'm working with.
so there's a new coffee shop that opened up in downtown Ithaca called Fairport Coffee Roasters.
Fairport Coffee.
Fairport, P-O-U-R, and they're out of Rochester. Ithaca is only their second location. They're in the Ironworks Building on West State Street.
Okay.
It's next to the State Diner.
Okay.
And they just went in within the last 6 months.
Okay.
And I'm addicted to the place. It's got a really, really nice vibe. I took Lisa down there Friday. You don't even know you don't even think you're in Ithaca. That's the vibe I get. A lot of people, there's students in there.
Clarify, when you say you don't know you're in Ithaca, where do you think you are?
New York City. I mean, it's just got a, yes, it's got a,
Not so chained.
no, it's not a chain, and the food,
And Terry,
they've got a menu, they do breakfast and lunch, they even do cocktails. Food is really good, the coffee is excellent, it's just a really nice environment, it's very laid back. It's really large.
Okay.
We probably don't need something that big. But like I said, they're out of Rochester. I actually looked up the owner's name, and this is only their second location, but I thought, oh my gosh, this is what we need up on the hill.
So
that's,
I love suggestions, and I'll take any and all.
If we have other suggestions.
take it offline, though, I was gonna say, it takes, yeah.
My contact info on there on my cell phone. I just want to address your one point. For any development or developer, unless you have a boatload of money, which I don't, you take a loan to do these things.
Right.
So you have to be able to finance. So I love, me personally, if I go out, I love finding like places like this that are not necessarily chained. I have to be able to finance them and bank them. So if it's like the coolest mom and pop, the bank's never gonna let me.
That's too bad.
Just want to let you know.
Yeah,
So I don't have anything for here. It's off of Trip Hammer, which has been my challenge there. I think when I can do this, this will then become a little bit more valuable and hopefully. So this is my order of priority. I need to do this first and then this. And I mentioned the name Chipotle, and it's not really something public. I'm trying to share as much as I can with you. I wouldn't go or anything, but.
Well, it will be, because you've got Brian Crandall from the Ithaca Voice on the Zoom.
That would have been nice to know. Don't blow the deal. So I started here because I just want that building gone.
We do too.
I know.
We all do.
Property much more attractive.
Yeah.
I agree. So that's the only reason why I started here, was I just thought, let's knock that out first. To somebody's point about the drive-throughs, I am aware that there are limitations on drive-throughs. Since COVID, everybody's required, Panera has had great locations that they're closing to go build another one that has a drive-through. Everybody's doing a drive-through. I'm aware of that, and I'm gonna potentially need some help there as well, but my assumption is that at least 2 of these are gonna ask me for a drive-through. I'll be back, so again, I'm just trying to give you an update on where I am, and where it's progressing. Again, I really wish it had gone quicker, sitting in front of Target, good traffic volumes. Thought it would happen quicker, it just isn't happening as quick as I wanted to. So with all of that said, is there anything else that I can tell you or answer questions?
I've got a list, but I'll happily let somebody else take some, like, if we want to go around, if we have other questions.
well, as far as I'm concerned, the curb cut is a non-starter.
What?
The curb cut is a non-starter.
Right.
It's literally, 129, 130 feet, you know that this is not ideal by any means, and I'm struggling with that. But the thing is, this looks very similar. The current owner of this property in 2017 came with coming as you are doing now. And this was kind of how it looked. There was no curb cut. And I just recall at the time, we said, and you're going to want to incorporate sidewalk going down Trip Hammer and that sort of thing as well. So there are some other things that we would want, but we have to really find out about the curb cut, I think. That's just.
Again, I understand, and this is not, just to be clear, it's not my.
I understand too, but if they want this, really, we have, perhaps, if a chain that needs to have a drive-through really wants this, we're going to have to figure out a different way for them
There's
to get it.
nobody that really wants this.
Wants the, no, the
No, they want the curb.
no, if they want drive-through,
But, so they do, but the thing you've got to remember that I'm up against, as I do different things around the country, you've got tenants that are doing X amount of deals a year, the amount of people going after them, so when they get to a point, they're like,
it's too much work, yes. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we're aware of that, but I just say curb cut for me is, I would vote no.
Again, when I envision this and what I want to do, you don't see that here.
No, I don't,
That's not-
exactly.
I know.
So we might have to figure out more creatively something for a drive-through if that's the way this goes.
I think there's potential other options there, given the
Yes.
fact that.
If you're gonna
there's
tear it down.
Grand Road West there, and what's the name of the other one?
Butler.
Butler, that they are pretty close, but again, that's, for further down the line when.
Just to remind the board that is commercial medium traffic and a drive.
Right.
But there's coming a time where we are reviewing all of our zoning at this point. So I'm not so sure it's the drive-through is the issue as the curb cut. Just to make that
that's right.
clear, it's not the drive-through, it's the curb cut.
I get it. You've got 1.7 million people coming into Target every year. You've got 673,000 people that go to McDonald's. So there's no additional traffic. You're serving the local community. For them, it's the way it flows. And sometimes, again, I'm not sure how truthful they are. They also, it's a safety matter sometimes for them, for people entering and exiting the building, just the way they want to see traffic flow. So that's part of their asking. I have made no problem at all. Again, that just came back from their engineers, so.
And again, once we're further down, I think that, we can have our village engineer here, he unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. And we can also have our superintendent for the DPW here too.
And I'm in Syracuse, I can be here whenever if somebody wants to meet in person.
And we can do stuff, we always do, folks to come in and at least introduce themselves once. We know that it's logistically not, able for people to get here all the time. But,
I can see him too. I'm pretty sure it's not a.
Okay, so I have a few things. First, I'm going to second what Lorraine said, Lisa said. I've barely slept for the last 5 days. Yeah, absolutely, drive-through, the curb cut is a non-starter. There's a few different reasons for that, and they all kind of nest in together. First of all, we are right now looking at some of our zoning. We have just been Lorraine has been working on a comp plan update. And one of the things that has become crystal clear as far as the desires of the people of the village of Lansing is that we do not want suburbanized development. We want village-like urbanized development. So when Lorraine says this great coffee shop, it's because of that urban feel. Nobody wants another drive-through. It's been made clear in the surveys that it's something that the village has made absolutely clear they do not want to see more of this. We allowed a Taco Bell with a drive-through fairly recently, but if you notice, that doesn't leave out onto Trip Hammer. It's down and tucked below. We've all said, no, that's actually okay for that kind of use. If you were to tuck these all back and do something else with the front, by all means. The other thing that we're talking about is how our Trip Hammer frontage is actually one of the best zones that we have in the area that might want to be upzoned to multi-use. So one of the things that I'd like us all to really discuss is, as we're looking at the comp plan update and the future of the village, is 3 quick service restaurants, 2 with drive-throughs, and a curb cut on Trip Hammer, is that the highest and best use for this parcel? And the answer, quite frankly, is probably not. And I used to be on your side, on the developer side of things. Honestly, you will make a lot more money if you make a multi-use building here with 60 housing units and commercial on the ground floor, and it would advance the village goals in a much more significant way.
That's not me.
Yep.
Which is fine, that's completely fine.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I didn't buy this.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So,
So I would say, think about the comp use that we're going to be doing, think about the updates that we're going to be doing, not just for you, but for all of us, and think about whether this is the highest and best use. We all want to see that old broken-down restaurant gone. We all want to see something good happen here. But we have all agreed as a village through the comp plan public process that car-based, heavily parking lotted drive-throughs that are suburbanizing our area is not what we want to see. We want to see urbanization.
so as far as the car, there are no more cars. So you're not, nobody's driving from Utica to go to Chipotle, right? So you've got 1.7 million people that are going to Target, so you've got.
Oh, wait, I'm not talking about increase in traffic.
Right.
I'm just saying car-based development, which is what this is.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is the thing that we as a village have voiced. We do not want to see more car-based development.
That's really good, glad I know that. That's not just kind of being around and talking to people, that's not what I've heard the community want. The community has said food, food, food.
Yes, they've all said food, food, food within the context of
Housing,
urbanized.
housing, housing,
And
housing.
housing. Housing is the very first thing you're going to hear.
Is
No,
that where you think that should be?
what we were talking about is, do we want to think about more mixed use in the village of Lansing? And we've kind of talked about it a few times. Nothing has been decided, nothing has been changed, but it is something that has come up over and over again in the comp plan rewrite. And so some of the mixed use means, yes, you build, kind of like the Ironworks building that you pointed out, you build a multi-story, multi-family buildings, 50, 60, 120 units, whatever it is you want to fit on there, with commercial on the ground floor. And the way that this is situated, yes, you could easily fill this with housing, with commercial, and maybe load it back on the back half of the lot as opposed to the front half of the lot, so you've got less housing facing out to the street. But you have a bus line there, you have a medical center right nearby, you have the shopping right nearby, you have access to Cornell. Within 15 minutes, you're on a bus line. This is actually an ideal space. We were talking about from past the McDonald's up Trip Hammer Road to the edge of the village would be ideal for mixed use. So
You should have a consultant come in, and do the math of how somebody would do that, to acquire that land, the cost of the acquisition, and then to build, and then to look at what the market. Then, I'm not saying it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm just not a resident, that's not my kind of development.
yeah, the performance penciled out at about 6 stories.
Okay.
5 probably depending.
You would go 6 stories?
We had, no.
No, we couldn't do there.
No,
No, I'm
we
not saying
have a-
that, he
I
asked
was
about
gonna
the money, I'm saying, like, for instance, in downtown, the performers all pencil out at 6 stories. We don't have 6 stories here, it
No,
might be
no.
like 3.
Yeah,
You know, a
max.
couple of stories of residential, so I'm assuming that this is gonna be a lot less expensive than some of the downtown development that I've been working with. So,
I mean, again, it's not, I shouldn't even,
Yeah.
that's my opinion,
Yeah.
I'm not the expert on that.
sure,
So, but listen, I'm on my planning board on my village. I get it,
yeah. So I would say, we have the information from the comp plan. We don't have the survey stuff public yet, right?
The survey stuff is,
Yeah, it hasn't
in a
been
draft, it
adopted
has
yet,
not
though.
been
It's
No, it's
adopted
not
yet.
been finalized.
Yeah.
But I mean, the mixed use has always been in our
Yeah.
comp plan, it's just,
You can even take a look at the survey at what questions are being asked, because that part where we're asking the questions is public, so you can see kind of what the.
yeah, because the survey is still on the website,
but we're,
still on the village website.
I was gonna say, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Heavy residential area would cause worse traffic in that area.
Well, that's true.
We're not going to discuss that at this point. What I'm talking about is how we've been talking in the comp plan about figuring out where to introduce mixed use.
So I'm trying to figure out my next steps, because that was very clear. I don't want to go forward. Like I said, I've spent a year doing this. So I may just have to put it on hold until.
I just want to be clear,
No.
this is just one.
No, that's my opinion.
No,
This is,
That was a clear opinion.
I know, but it is a clear opinion.
that's great.
But it is just one, and the fact is, you came to us with your plan,
Yeah.
and you need some sort of answer,
Yeah, I just wanted to keep.
sort of inclination.
Yeah.
And I think.
Conversation.
Yes. And I'm saying, okay, maybe some of this is not my ideal, I can tell you that,
Yeah.
personally, it is not my ideal, but I can tell you that I will vote no if there's a curb cut. So, and I am only one vote, so.
I haven't promised anything, that was their ask.
But I just feel that, there is always another option. And it could, I'm sure that with a different design and access somewhere over here or over here, you could get drive-throughs for every one of them if that's the way this went, and everybody could come and go. But
Yeah, I mean,
not
maybe-
onto Trip Hammer, no, no.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you loaded the buildings back here and you had a little bit more green space and have the entrances and exits out here, it's not very far from Trip Hammer, you're not gonna lose visibility.
These people build thousands of stores.
And they want them all the same way.
Experts on, I'm not the traffic flow guy. They have their engineers that really pay attention to safety and the way traffic flows and everything.
Sure.
I think the key to it partly, though, is to know what the whole thing is going to look like, not just this one piece, which
I agree.
complicates things a lot, just not knowing, so that you can't plan the total picture. But what were you going to say?
I'm kind of confused now, because I've sat here for 8 years, and I've heard all we've talked about is getting more eateries.
We have.
More
Yes.
eateries in this area, and this area is perfect for that. So I'm not understanding what direction you're coming with as far as having, mixed use, but nothing's been approved as far as mixed use.
Nothing has been approved for that. That's a discussion that we've been having.
But what Chris is bringing to us is there's some issues that you don't like, I understand that. And like I said, I don't have a dog in the race here as far as a vote, but this is all I've heard over the last 7, 8 years, is getting eateries in here.
I think in Mike's right, in the area up here.
I think
know
ideally,
there's some
Oh, I
different views on
agree.
it, whether they're, more sit-down versus more, fast food or casual, things like that, but.
I had a credit union that was interested, they pay more rent than food. That's better for me. I just didn't think that was something that necessarily would have been
much fun.
well.
Well,
Lorraine or Jim?
I mean, I'm with Lisa on the curb cut. That's just not a good spot for it. But I can't see why there couldn't, I mean, we've got other roads, I mean.
Yeah, I think
But you could come down West.
I'm just saying-
Down Graham, and it's.
No.
Yep, I don't disagree with you,
No,
and that
I
was
mean,
never my
There are
intent.
options where you could come down Graham and like turn into the YMCA, but make a right into, come around the other way, which I've seen in bigger cities, like up in Rochester, right? When there's like 5 restaurants, you go in one entrance and you drive around till you get to the restaurant you want to get to, right? Or the drive-through that you want to get to.
If it's something people want, they are going to drive
Exactly.
another
Right.
50.
The other thing that.
They'll go 10 miles if it's something they want. If you give them something they want, and yes, food is something we want, I prefer I like more unique places than, drive-through fast food, but that's me. So as that goes, some are better than others.
I do too.
But it would also be nice to have something that Ithaca does not already have. Okay, so this would be, I'm not going to mention the name, but this would be the second eatery that we already have 2 of.
Well, that's right.
Taco Bell's Taco Bell's the other one. There's a Taco Bell downtown, and now we have a Taco Bell up on the hill. Do we really need 2 Taco Bells in Ithaca,
Yeah, believe me, I had my top of what I was, and I'm still working on that. So, I was trying to go, what's the best, and then kind of work my way down. This isn't very far down, it's super successful. And keep in mind, your McDonald's here, you've got another McDonald's?
downtown, yep.
Right? They do $5 million in sales a year, they've got
Really?
673,000 customers a year.
And they can't keep staff.
Oh, they can't.
That's a different.
Yeah, that's a management thing.
Yeah, they can't, and
I know. That's a different issue. So, I agree, right? That's not where my dinner's coming from tonight. So it's not,
Could be worse.
yeah, it's not I'm going.
We make decisions all the time that personally are,
People that love it.
yes,
Yeah.
I know,
So-
but I'm just, but regardless, no curb cut, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't care
And I-
who it is.
That's okay.
That's not a, yeah.
I'm not surprised.
I don't say, look at the Taco Bell. The Taco Bell actually was a really easy fit into that parcel because of the way they tucked it in. And because it doesn't have
I mean,
camera.
that's where the building was.
Well, they also completely,
They went there because of visibility from 13. That's the appeal for where Taco Bell is that they like, you can see it from 13.
sure.
And believe it or not, it's not even a quarter mile. The amount of push, it's too far down. It's too far down from the intersection.
Really?
It's right in front of Target.
Oh, wait, no, I was going to say, no, again.
We heard the same thing
People
with the
take one look on their phone, where do I go, where's the nearest whatever? That argument for me, doesn't work. Let's put it that way.
And Taco Bell honestly.
Some of my meetings.
Yeah, no, in
Taco Bell said the same thing. Taco Bell complained about, like, we need a bigger sign, we need
like
better
that.
visibility, we need this, we need that. And in the end, they ended up where they are. They do not have the giant sign they originally proposed.
No, they worked.
You can see
They
it.
worked with us really nicely.
Of course you can.
Of course, I know.
So I want to refocus here, so we're talking
Yes,
about a lot
thank
of
you.
other things we've been talking about. Let's not talk about other things, let's talk about this project. Lorraine, did you have other input you wanted to share?
No, it was just,
Yeah.
issue, yeah.
Jim, what about you?
I think it's been well explored. I mean, the curb cut's an issue because it's right near the traffic light. I mean, I realize that a right in and a right out's pretty easy, but if the plan, I mean, obviously if the plan says no more curb cuts, then that answers that question. But assuming it's an open question, it still doesn't seem like an ideal location for it, so that could be problematic. But like Lorraine or somebody said, there's got to be another workaround.
Oh, there has to be.
Driving.
Of course, there is.
Coming down Graham Road and turning in and maybe exiting down here, it
Yeah, having
should
the
be
entrance on
fairly
this
easy.
side, yeah.
That's what I envisioned. That's.
That was a good.
Yeah, that's what you're.
Yeah, that's what I've gone out with. This came back from Chipotle. So,
It's okay, it's out of the bag, don't worry. He's already got it. He is,
For that,
he is.
for the eye is.
Asking, this drawing,
yes,
okay, so that's the building, the cars lined up, like, what is this?
Oh, is that the,
I'm sure that's traffic.
Oh, okay. And then there's, okay, I guess these are crosswalks?
Yes.
Okay.
So is there, that 44, does that mean 44 parking spots? Exactly. Okay. That's a lot of parking spots.
I mean, they have
oh, yeah, it doesn't,
just minimum requirements.
no, that is the other thing, is we,
You probably won't even need that many.
probably not. What is,
Oh, those are all details that.
yeah, I was gonna say, that's just getting ahead of the game, too.
I just want to understand what the drawing showed.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could have had it labeled as the
I mean, one of the, I won't belabor the point anymore about, well, one more thing about the curb cut is, it's 2 lanes, there is that right, kind of turn right onto Graham Road, so then it would come off of that.
Yeah.
It would just be, it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be, you've got to go back and just tell them,
I
forget
don't
it.
have any takeaway from tonight's meeting is your feeling on the curb cut.
Yeah.
And I think we're all in agreement, and I think that it's just, I have watched what's going on as we go down Route 13, and everybody's been watching that. It's like, we're going to be stopping every 12 feet.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just, and I'm saying, this will not happen here. We can't let this happen. Who let that happen?
I get it.
Ask Yamila who let that happen. City of Ithaca planning, right?
But before they changed the zoning down there, so in the 1990s, all of that was allowed, and then in the, I want to say, early 2000s, they changed the zoning down there. So if you notice, if you look at the older fabric, like where the McDonald's is and some of the other, like Wendy's, that has more typical, like what you're
Yes.
seeing in, like what you've got in front of you right there. If you look at the newer development, for instance, where the Chili's is, or where the Texas Roadhouse is.
You have to go in.
You actually have to go in, there's.
But I'm talking,
yeah.
I'm talking about, we're getting off target again.
Well, it is about how you design this, because none of those have curb cuts in the front.
Yeah.
They've moved to having the curb cuts on the side so that you enter on the back, and the building fronts a garden area, a sidewalk, a green strip, and then traffic. So it's made to, it was an attempt to begin to build more of a walkable village fabric.
But for almost $2 million for that land, it's a simple math exercise.
Yes.
How do I generate income
Understood.
to pay it back?
Yeah.
Understood.
One of the things maybe the Chipotle traffic engineers may not have realized, which, just kind of came on incident, is the fact that that would be going into kind of a dedicated right-hand turn lane for Graham Road, and I would think that
I know.
they wouldn't buy into
So
that.
they had, the reason why I'm this far is they have done their whole site tour. So the team's been here, so they have actually been here and
Oh,
visited.
so they've seen it.
And they still, well, it's not a good idea.
Again, I believe, I don't think this will kill my, to be clear, if there's no curb cut, I'm not saying I think the deal dies.
No, well, that's what I'm saying too, is if they want it, we've had this happen before.
Yeah.
And we can work something out usually. Or if we can't, then maybe it's not the right location. And life goes on for all of us.
So Jonathan, what about you? Any feedback that we haven't already?
Definitely no more comments on the curb cut. But
Yeah.
firstly, I can tell that you're here sort of with a little bit of heart with what you want to accomplish in the village. Talking about like the village that you come from and like appreciating the green space and stuff that we're trying to accomplish here. And so I like people like you coming in to try and make these kinds of developments happen in spaces like this for us. But definitely feeling what Yamila was saying, that this feels a bit too concrete jungle. Like we're right here with Target, so much parking, a mall that needs a huge facelift. This is a piece of space that is right on the frontage of Trip Hammer that gives us an opportunity to do something different, charming, bigger, different, right? Like something walkable, something bikeable, things that come to mind are coffee, brewery, food, right? In like a less strip mall kind of fashion and more of a small kind of fashion. Right?
Yeah, I like that idea, Jonathan.
More drive-through centric kind of stuff. We kind of miss that point of like what I've been reading is the common goal of the village, and definitely your sentiment. So that's my take on it. There's ways to maneuver this definitely to bring drive-throughs in and to the backside. Like I would watch Dunkin' Donuts over at Home Depot all the time, and like people just like don't mind coming into the inside of the parking lot. People don't mind going in the inside. I think that there's a lot of solutions. If like that was the way to go, that would still make lots of money. I'm not sure that is the future of the village, though, to have things that are just chain and drive.
You brought up your mall.
Yeah.
Your mall is turning into almost all office.
Yes.
So there's really,
Yes.
again, which is why just the feedback that I heard.
It's food.
You got more, so the term daytime population. So they look at the daytime population, which here is growing. So you need people, places for people to eat lunch, and there's it's like a 7-minute drive time. If you're going out to lunch, and if you can't get there in about 7 minutes, then, and your however long lunch you have, then you choose something else. So that was another reason why I thought focusing on food, maybe it's not the right food for everybody, was the better thing, because your daytime population is going up.
Are any of the chains, like, we used to, when we would go to the Planning Federation, some of the stuff, we'd see these revitalizations that people did, and it would be the chains that but you wouldn't have recognized the building, because they've decided to do, a more interesting design, a more charming design, and it makes it look like a little village kind of thing. Are any of these chains thinking of doing stuff like that, or would they be open? Would they like to be a model for this here in Lansing?
It's the developer who's got to build it. I'm guessing everybody knows. If they don't, I'll just tell you. Benderson, giant company, so Benderson has Market Street and Market, I'm forgetting the name.
Place.
Oh,
And
okay.
if, they've got stuff all over the country. But they were given funding to do that. I'm not getting anything. I'm not
Right,
asking for
okay.
anything from the bill, I'm not asking for tax, I'm not asking for anything. I don't even know what could potentially be out there. So the big advantage, because before that was built, this was it. You're close to the universities and everything. But they got incentives. Big company that doesn't need any money.
I know.
All the big incentives to go build that down there. I'm not getting anything. So it's only what I can generate from this project, which handcuffs me a little bit. Now, something else you want to think about. Again, I've lost a teeny bit of money so far, but I can walk and be just fine. If you want to do, come up with incentive program for a residential person to do this and go that way, I think you can absolutely do that. If you're not asking for incentives or funding from the village, it's just math. It's just math, you know what I mean?
So which incentives would you be looking towards?
I don't even know, I'm not asking.
Because, no, I know,
I was gonna say.
I'm just thinking Benderson not.
Tangent right now, just.
I wanted to make the point of, how you can do those things, how you can afford to do green space and things like that.
Right. Well, I think we all understand profit
Yeah.
and making a living.
So, anyway, so again, the whole point of this was to introduce myself. It really was good, I truly appreciate the feedback, because it does help me keep things in mind. I'm gonna continue to, see what we can get. Again, curb cut, I
Yeah, I think that kind of stuff, I think, right, the big concern, and, I share the same opinion I listen to.
What about the parking? If it's a drive-through kind of thing, you don't need that many.
It's not only a drive-through.
Yeah, what if some of these have more people that do sit down than I think, I guess.
Yeah, more
I
than.
think it depends on the place, like,
Yeah,
yeah, I've never seen a Chipotle with, but I think if you look at Panera, there's definitely, people go through the drive-through, but there's always a lot of people sitting
Yeah.
inside too, so it's not, I think if you looked at like McDonald's or at least McDonald's for sure, that's more, I think, people in the drive-through than there are inside, so.
well, actually, yeah, because actually, most polluting thing is an idling car, so while they're waiting for the drive-through, the more successful, the more the polluting.
Their goal is to get to
Yeah.
the consumer as quickly as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
But Panera and Starbucks are probably the two, I don't think this would be it, but Panera and Starbucks, if you go in at any time of day, you'll see kids with like their computer, and they'll park for 2 hours.
Yes.
Get coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't really think this is it. It's that, I don't think people really do that here.
I don't know, does anybody go to the one downtown? Do people sit down there and with their laptops?
Oh,
At what place?
At the
Ithaca.
in Ithaca.
I don't know.
I don't ever go in there, so I don't
I
know.
haven't ever been,
At the Panera or the?
The Chipotle,
any of those places.
No, Chipotle, they're like, they.
That's what I'm saying.
In and out.
in and out.
Yeah, so I agree that it would be less parking stalls in like a Panera or Starbucks where people kind of camp out.
Yeah, and we recently did a calculation of parking that we thought was appropriate for our
Yeah,
chain
said, I
place.
don't quite need that. You might leave space in case kind of thing, didn't we? Is that what we've done?
But I think in general, to sum it up, right, the one concern I think that everybody has is, what happens with this piece of property along Trip Hammer, when it comes to curb cuts, that's a hard sell. I think, yes, us included, and the residents of the village are definitely looking for food.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that we just want, drive-throughs, if it is all drive-throughs, maybe that is something that does happen. If it's one, maybe two, maybe, but I think, again, like other folks in the on the board shared, we're really looking to protect the aesthetics, the look, the feel of the village, while being able to get things like eateries in there. And so there are ways to do that on that parcel, and probably every parcel.
Agreed.
That's
a more offensive look right now.
Well, yeah, yes, but.
Well, it was improved recently.
But that, but our job though is to protect the village, to not just say, well, it's been, vacant for so long that we just want somebody to come in and do that. You'd never hear us say that, because we don't want that.
I get it.
We want the right thing in there, and hopefully there's a way to make that happen.
I guess the question that the planning board's got to ask themselves is, if Chris is able to work out something with that curb cut, is it still an attractive project?
You mean omitting the curb cut?
Omitting that curb cut, if you can work out something where it's not a curb cut out onto
Well, I don't see,
Trip Hammer Road, is this still an attractive?
The idea of fast casual eateries, an attractive project.
Well, I think part of it comes down to, right, you said you have a vision for three things there, or maybe it's really ultimately two, but obviously it seems like more than one, it's a big chunk of property, but I think it's hard for the planning board to make that decision. I have no problem with there being, another fast food place somewhere in the village if built right. I would also very much love to see some place that is more sit down than fast food.
yes. It would be-
That is one of the things, and I've been here a long time, and that is one of the things that the
Yep.
residents do say, and that information is in the survey.
I will, and I'll give you two other tenants that have been all over me that do want to be here. And I didn't entertain it because I don't think it would be the highest and best use. I don't think you would ever approve it. Both Circle K and Burn Dairy, both want to be here. So
What is a Circle K?
it's.
Circle K's,
It's a convenience store gas station,
I was gonna say, it's a,
Oh, that's surprising,
or like Moravido,
given the location.
no, they both.
What about Stewart's? Can you get a Stewart's down here?
Stewart's, I know, we've talked to them.
Oh, Cornell alumni,
So I have kind of talked to them, but again, really wasn't going that direction. because-
I like that you weren't going that direction.
You like what?
I'm with you.
So,
Yeah.
anyway,
A gas station as a whole.
Although would be handy to be able to run in and get some milk
There's
now
the
and again.
mobile.
I know.
Tops.
Gotta cross the street. The traffic. No, because I would be coming down here. See, I would go with the light.
Right.
But
That's in your neighborhood, in that location. You wouldn't have to get on Trip Hammer. You could cut right.
That's true. I could go.
Have a new road through there, yeah.
No, I'm kidding, but yeah, still.
But so I think that, I think that sums up, or at least our feedback for, this kind of discussion. If people have additional thoughts, feel free.
It's a tough time for me.
Just contact info right here, at least on the second page, on the corner there. And yeah, I don't know if you want to get together some other thoughts, or, go back or take some of these to some of the folks you're working with, see what see what their feeling is, and then.
so, I will, and this will go right back. I just, I've hit, honestly, about 100 different tenants. So,
Wow.
try not to come in with pie in the sky. Hey, I talked to this, it means nothing. I try to give you updates where I think something could be kind of real. But again, I spent a year on it, which I didn't think it would take.
It's a tough year.
It is interesting, because it is, it is a very visible piece of property.
Yes.
Along a very well-traveled corridor.
Besides the fact that there's a lot of apartment communities that are housing students, a lot of graduate students all live in this area. So I'm really surprised that it's not appealing to someone.
I don't know how long, I don't know who has, again, that's not my specialty, so I haven't even, it's just not what I do. Whether or not Eric has gone out and talked to all these, and I don't know.
Do you mean appealing like for a food place or for a different type of use?
A mixed use, you're saying?
I mean, just food in general. I mean, with that many people in the community, we've seen the lines at
But you
McDonald's,
don't-
right?
There's not, if we look at the numbers, I know it feels that way, but you know, they look at the demos, they look at the population, they look at the traffic, and
Yeah.
they do a sales projection.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you do a store that's gonna do 3 million, or do you take your money and go do the store that's gonna do 5 million?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always about the bottom line.
Yeah, and unfortunately, our population density in Ithaca is, and in the village certainly is not the population density of some of the other places that they
'cause-
like to build in.
Right.
We're way through. We're on, yeah.
And for what it's worth, and I'm sure you would have hated this tenant, but I talked to Starbucks, and they're so afraid of, because they close all their.
Oh, right.
I know.
We have
Still haven't
Starbucks,
talked.
we have a Starbucks at Target, but I don't, that's
know.
not part of the,
They don't care.
yeah.
Starbucks doesn't care that it's in Target. But anyway.
Yeah, that's a
another
whole,
one.
yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Well, yeah, there's
But yeah, I mean, I would, like I said, I would, you know, if you do go get more information, if you know, have updates on things that you want to provide us after you've talked
Yes.
to, you know, other people, feel free to come back, you know,
Yeah, thank you.
anytime you want, you know.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the worst
you know,
thing.
Seeing different things that are maybe have progressed a little bit, obviously, we know it won't be a final, you know, a final plan, or if you do think you have something really solid and you want to come for a formal presentation to, you know, really kick the, you know, get the things rolling on a very specific project, you know, we'll have a lot more questions and things to work through, but for this,
Because you could have shared parking and all that. I think the parking, there'd be more room for. That's a lot of parking.
It's a lot of inefficient.
yeah, definitely, right, nobody wants to see that lot stay vacant.
No,
And you've been so diligent.
feeling against chains.
I'm fine with having chains. Chains are important to the fabric of how our places live. And I know every single one of the larger chains has models to fit more into a village model. So I'm saying, talk to them about how they might be able to fit a village model as opposed to a suburban model. And then you probably have a way forward here.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And if you have any questions, pester Mike all the time.
Yeah.
Land back from vacation, you'll be energized.
Did you go anywhere good?
Depends.
Really good.
I guess that's considered good, right?
I would say that's really
I
good.
know it is good.
I haven't been there since I was 7.
Stay in touch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will, thank you. I'm going to take these unless anybody wants them left behind.
We all have copies of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, want mine back?
Thank you.
Can I keep it? Yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion of village code changes and corrections. Is there anything that you want to talk about this?
No.
Okay, so in front of you all, and this is something that we've talked about a couple times, is the chart of uses. There's 3 pages? 3 pages. And what I did was I just kind of figured out the best way to divvy this up and what I thought would be sort of the best combination of folks to work on them, so it wasn't, so that it was kind of a good representation of not, oh, Lisa and I think alike and live next, not that anybody, well, really here lives next door, which is kind of one of the goals of the village, but just a kind of initial thought about how we could tackle this. I mean, you know, I guess it's sort of except Jonathan, but-
You have about 3
Only neighbors on this side, please.
Full disclosure.
conflict of interest.
But so that's how I have it, that's really how I went through this, is I just took us, figured out maybe what I thought the best combination of people would work on. You know, for example, you know, me and Lorraine have different views on some stuff, so Emil and John. I thought Lisa and Jonathan would be really well to work together, just because Jonathan's newer to the village and newer to the board. Lisa
And you
has
have so much institutional
a
knowledge.
lifetime of experience here in the village, so I thought that would be beneficial. The one thing, I'm pretty sure that I mentioned it in the email, is business and technology.
Yes.
Don't focus on that as you go through any of these.
Okay, just-
Carolyn and I met with the folks from Cornell Real Estate, and I can give an update on that in a little bit, but
Sort of, you only met with them once, right?
yes.
Sort of updated.
Yeah, so when we get to other business, I'll go through an update on that, but don't worry about business and technology as you go through this, because that might be just kind of some wasted effort, what we think versus what real estate thinks for the business and technology district.
Okay, so,
Do people have questions or thoughts on how I divvy it up, who's working?
so
with
do
it?
we have no, but do we have a check, do we have a formal checklist?
I put that
Or a
in the email
form?
too, I
I
thought, the
thought-
talking points that we kind of had for each thing.
But I was,
It's in the email,
do we need
it's
something
not here.
Yeah.
that,
I don't want to be,
more formal than that.
so here's my thought on it. I think those are, every one of these uses is gonna be a little bit different, right? Some of them are gonna be similar, but they're all gonna be a little bit different. I think those talking points, hang on, Jim. Okay.
Couple meetings.
Lorraine, hang on.
Sorry, he was looking for the sheet.
Oh, it's this, oh, gotcha. So I think that those talking points that are in the email are good high-level talking points. I think if we get down too strict, or to make sure you check these 15 things, it's going to fail us in some of these uses. What I would say, though, is what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this whole package of everything together to give to the trustees. So what I would really want everyone to do is, as you're working through these and we say, oh, additional residential building on other lot, oh, well, we think it should be in, here's these, these kind of high-level talking points. Take good notes about the discussion you have, because the trustees are gonna ask those same questions.
My concern with this whole thing is, what are the minimum things that we should, so that's the talking.
And I think those, I think it was like 5 things, I think those are the minimum, at least address those, and then whatever other sort of special, discussion points you have about a use.
Like concerns or addition, you mean additions, subtractions?
Yes.
That kind
Yep.
of thing.
Take note of them, and also, well, we're going to put a big package together to send to the trustees.
Right.
I would really love for us to have a touch point at the next meeting after we start this, because there might very well be something that we all said, oh yeah, we all talked about this, and we want to say, okay, let's add that for a 6th point to talk for each one of these uses.
I just think it's almost like, my main concern is how we really get around this and have it, keep track of where we're at, what we've revised, the whole revision thing. But for example, additional resident, okay, so we go and we say, it's almost like, I feel like that we do need some sort of format that we might have a sheet for each line item that we would then fill out sort of, so that it would be something we could hand to the trustees ultimately without having to go back and reinvent this.
So that's kind of what I thought, that the high-level talking points.
Okay.
At least that, like, do that for sure. And then really the rest of it, however many pages you need for special thoughts, concerns. If we try to come up with a checklist,
Not a checklist per se, but just, all right, I'll think about this.
think about, if you have something, if you come up with something.
Convert those questions into a chart?
Yes, well, it's
Or a
just a
table?
chart, a table, and where you fill it in.
Yeah, or just have like 1, 2, 3 and type in.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
a chart to get
But, I just think if we're consistent with that, because to go with, otherwise we're gonna have to
Send that in
go.
Word?
Yeah, I think I do.
A chart, like a word table or chart.
I think it's a Word
It's a Word
document.
document, so
Yeah.
just go in and number them and then type, like, put the use at the top.
Yep, use at the top, and then here's my answers to these 5, or however many.
Yeah. in
So each
district.
use gets its own page?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. And
Unless there is some use that has no changes, and then, or even that, though, I would say, no
Go through
changes.
it.
What you have to,
Or,
yes.
well, again, maybe even go through those things and say, we talked about these, and we think that this is all accurate.
So, for example, when we discussed high traffic, oh, no, I want to go, that we didn't. Indoor rec, we talked about that, and we said, gee, we think RSH, we should do a special permit.
Which one are you on?
Indoor rec and club.
Yep.
She's doing my work for me right now.
And so that's what we discussed at our meeting the night when we did a sample. And we also thought probably we should add that it would be allowed in the HHS as well. Of course, we just said we shouldn't do business tech, oh, no, that was business and technology. So we would then say, we want to add it to that, but I mean, we have to be consistent with how we.
And so I would go through that document.
And just go
that's
through
attached,
one.
And do it, review the
LDR,
definitions.
MDR, no change, MDR, no change.
Yep.
CLT, no change. I mean, all right, I do forms.
But we're gonna do that together, right?
Sure.
Well, I think so,
Because,
so like, here are the things that Mike and Lorraine are gonna work on, the highlighted ones, right, on the next page, so we will do that together for these
Together,
ones.
yeah.
Right, Jim, Jim and you.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to, I didn't want to
Yeah.
confirm that you expected me to go through, and you were, and then we come together. and-
Yeah, and so, and that's the other reason, I thought some of these would be really great conversations to have with 3 people, but we can't do that.
no, we cannot.
We shouldn't do that.
Or if there's a few that we think might be particularly good, we say, okay, well, we're going to do all of these and put a little star next to this one, we're going to discuss this one as a group.
And that's fine, and we can do that at a public meeting, just let Mike know, we'll add
If
this.
we get
agenda
bogged
item,
down,
there you go.
yeah.
Or it'll be right under discussion of village code changes and corrections, and we can
But I would
absolutely do
circulate that
as a
before,
group.
so everyone can
Yes,
go through
yeah,
it.
let us all know, so we don't show up and say, oh, we're talking about pharmacy in a certain area. which is really only allowed in HHS. Look at that, there you go. Yeah,
Okay,
Okay, so I know we've just talked about it, I just want to make sure I understand this. So we begin with the particular use, let's say adult entertainment, it's up near top. So we go through, okay, LDR, we would say, all right, you and Lorraine decide no. But then you say, maybe commercial medium traffic, you might say, well, yeah, maybe allow adult entertainment.
yep.
So,
And we would,
but I mean,
we would have the notes to back that up,
yeah,
right?
but I mean, that's the analytical process that I think that,
Yep, and then we will, so Lorraine and I will come back, whether we get through all of them or part of them, or however, folks are comfortable talking about things, we can set time aside. I really want to make progress on this. I don't want to.
bogged down,
I don't wanna
it's
get bogged down.
it's gonna be hard not to get
Right
bogged
now,
down.
it seems like we have some time to make progress, so I really want to make the progress on it. And so like Jim, right, if you look at page 2, that's for you and Emil, so those highlighted ones are the ones you'll tackle.
right, no, I understand. I was just trying to get, make sure I understood the analytical process correctly.
And it's however people want to do it too, right? I mean, however you and Yamila want to work, if you want to do it in person here at the Village Hall, if you want to do it over Zoom, if you want to go down to Fairport, which incidentally is a nice place to go. I was down there yesterday also. But yeah, whatever, as long as, as long as it's just the two of you, and that's what you're focusing on.
And there's, one thing I want to have is just like a context point. There's a bunch of things that are, say, in commercial heavy traffic, or I guess special permit in those areas, and then commercial medium density. And I think one of the medium traffic, one of the things that I think a lot of people think about, and it's reflected here, like, for instance, warehousing, we're like, oh yeah, that's a heavy traffic use, or sort of, oh, of course, that's a heavy traffic use. I think one of the things that we want to remember too is our heaviest traffic use is the places that everyone sees most. So I think maybe when some of these were put in here, we weren't thinking about where everyone sees things most. And so, like, over how many, this has been 30 years this has been done, we've now changed the way we do things. So for instance, storage tends to be in kind of tucked away areas as opposed to right in the biggest, heaviest traffic area. And there's a bit of a change of how we think about our spaces from 30 years ago.
So there absolutely is. I'm going to jump ahead to talking about business and technology real quick, which I was going to wait, but that leads into this perfectly, right? So Carolyn and I went and met with Cornell Real Estate. We talked about that. They were wholly on board with, wanting to do some updates. It's something they've been thinking about. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in the business and technology part there. And, we covered everything from, again, we used the adult entertainment. No, they probably don't want that there. Housing, restaurants. Oh, okay, maybe. So we just picked out a couple, things that seemed like very, high profile things that would make sense to have there or would not make sense to have there. But then we also did dive into the thing that Jim and I were going to talk about, which we chatted very briefly over email and over voicemail, and then Carol and I met with business and technology. But this is a real good example to what Emil just brought up. So we went through the code for some of those things there in business and technology and said, yeah, you can get a special condition, or a special permit, but there's all these conditions. And then we all went and looked up the conditions there, and we started reading them, and it's like, oh, you can only have one exterior directional sign and only two direct. And we're like, wow, that seems like
We need
very
to change the
outdated.
code.
Well, so, yes, and there's a good, those ones in specific, when you talk about business and technology, and you'll see these in a lot of other places too, when that was written, it's been so long that they didn't want, because we verified this, they didn't want business and stuff drawn away from the mall, so that's why there were those special conditions on the permit up there. That's not necessarily the case anymore.
Yeah.
So keep things like that in mind too, just how, keep,
Well-
just in mind, right? The village itself is transformed, even if, that's always been commercial high traffic and it's still gonna be commercial high traffic. Is there something that's changed about it? The business and technology park is the business and technology park.
Well,
The mall is the mall, but things have changed a lot.
Or just, given what we were just talking about with Chris, for example, what if it is a mixed use, were to go there, how high would we be willing to go? That kind of thing.
And also,
35 feet now, and I think the time that a hotel came and wanted to go there, they said, we can't make it work for that.
I don't know, the message that I've received is that the height restriction is what they want us to keep staying with.
Yeah, so 35 feet would be it.
The Business and Technology Park incidentally has a carve-out for above 35 feet, by the way, we found that.
Well, I was going to say,
Yeah, some things are like,
Right, yeah, so that's the thing, though, but, so, think about that, think about, the corridors where you're thinking about having, suggesting changes to the planning board before we pass it to the trustees. Think about those things, think about the upcoming changes, proposed changes to the comp plan, because a lot of this, I feel like, the comp plan is gonna come out before a lot of this is, probably done and passed.
oh,
on
I
to the
guess it
trustees.
is.
Yeah.
so what's our timeline? Are you going to give us a deadline so we have something to work?
I would like people to at least meet once between now and the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, and just see how far you get, because I think that would be good for us to come back, have a touch point, and then say,
Better hurry up.
are there things that other people have discussed, right, maybe there is some other, point that everyone's talked about, or that you talked about that we think would be good to, factor into stuff. I don't wanna have everybody, spend the next month or a month and a half or two going through all these just to come back and have somebody come up with a really good idea that nobody else thought about as they were discussing stuff, so. Let's at least meet once, however you wanna do it.
For what it's worth, I was gonna tell you after the meeting, I will be officially attending the next meeting virtually,
When is our next one? July the,
14th or something like that.
14th. Lisa, you're gonna be online, I think you
yes,
said.
I'll be on Zoom.
But you'll be voting, yeah. Yep. And you'll be online, Jim.
And I have one last question. We have a section here that's under farm and craft
Oh,
market,
yes, my God.
but it's not represented on our
It's a carve-out.
All the uses are from
The underlined.
Yeah.
the underlying district, which is your low-density residential.
Okay, all right.
Yes, that is that one weird one.
That is that one we were, okay, so farm is also low density.
And also in that email I sent out, remember, and Lisa brought this up last time too, as you're going through the chart, and I tried to put links there where I could, or at least spell out the chapter in 145, but some of the definitions are under terms, some of the definitions are right after the chart of uses, so good luck, all of us.
Godspeed.
They are there, though, and if you have questions, right, if you need something spelled out, right, I know that we've talked about hospital, we've talked about, what's the other one that's like a hospital, like?
Assisted living.
Assisted living, then there's another one that's like a clinic. So if you need clarification on that, as you are suggesting potential changes, ask Mike, if something came up, how would you classify this?
What came up was addiction centers.
Yep, and Mike,
Whoever has that
the
one.
one that makes the determination. So
Right.
ask Mike, and Mike would make a determination, and then we can move forward from there, but note that.
But when this was done, though, that was nothing that anybody talked about. Alcohol and addictions, drug addiction. So it's time to deal with that one, probably.
Yep. Okay.
So is the definition of clinic, for instance, as an example, not within
Yes,
this
there
part?
is, but it
It's
may
either,
not.
it's all in 145, it's either in 145, I think 3 is terms.
There's very few like three.
Yeah.
Mostly it's.
It's on the sheet.
Yeah,
Which
it's,
one's these ones?
it's in one,
82.
oh, yeah, that's another one. Is that it? Okay. Sure.
It's in the back.
Yes, 145.3 is terms, or 145.83 is right after the chart of uses. There's a bunch of definitions for the various
And
uses.
is there anywhere else? No, I think that's it. It's
That was
really-
all that was referenced in the discussion.
I think what you'll see is if you look at some of the uses that require conditions,
Then you
then
have
you're
to.
gonna find that
yes.
in 145.60M, so those will have different
Yeah,
things
no,
in there,
it's,
so you can
it's,
go and you can look at the conditions for that special permit in that
this is
district,
it's
but
like
it
a
might refer
treasure
somewhere
hunt.
else.
It really is like a treasure hunt somewhere.
It can be.
And it's like,
The code is also online.
Yes, I just.
And searchable, kind of,
Okay.
sort of,
ish.
kind of, ish, yeah.
Faster, presumably, very likely, than searching through that binder.
And then you can copy and paste
Yes.
the definition.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions on that? If you have questions, email me, email Mike, we'll figure it out. I would like everyone to meet once between now and the next meeting, in a couple weeks.
Okay.
So if people want to figure that out.
Around. Are you-
No, you know where we'll be going, no.
Yeah, fair point. As long as we don't all end up there at the same time.
Well, it's big enough, we can
Yes.
separate, we could.
It might be,
Yeah. So Mike's gonna,
it might be hard because I'm gonna be leaving on Thursday.
yeah, but you can do it over Zoom, it's all good. Yeah.
July 4th already.
Okay, I want to switch to the next two items. Trustee report?
Here,
There you go. I thought I saw you there.
You did, I saw you there, I thought, did you think that it was your month?
Oh, that's
or-
right, I watched the video, I saw you guys both on there, but I figured,
Listen to the PDA.
yeah.
Oh, let's see, let me find the right page.
I won't steal your thunder, though.
Okay. First thing, this will be from the June 2nd meeting, they canceled the second meeting of the month of June. So, okay. Let's see, okay, so the board, as we know, appointed Jonathan Jeske as an alternate member, made it official, but we all know that. John answered some questions from the trustees, and one of the things he said, we'd like to see more walkability in the village.
Yay.
They passed a resolution making local law D as local law 4, which is the tree conservation and planning law.
Yay, bravo.
Opened a public hearing on proposed local law E, and I didn't fill in my notes on that. Anyway, there was also a discussion of the PDA of 20 Bomax, presentation by one of the proponents, but I think you sent out an email, one of you sent out an email saying.
That was
No, that was East Point, that was East Point,
Or on
this
the
is the other,
That was East Point, yeah.
Okay, the other one. And then there was a lot of discussion, and then the mayor said the trustees should decide whether to turn it over to the planning board for more analysis, or to decide that whether the village wants to move forward with it. There's a lot of back and forth, quite a bit of discussion on this, and the mayor observed that he sensed that correctly there was not enough support and votes on behalf of the trustees to send it to us, and suggested that it might be time for the developer to abandon the project. Voted to rename Marion Harthill Park to Donald and Marion Harthill Park. We mentioned there's be a memorial service for former Mayor Harthill at July 30th at the Country Club, and at 9:05 they entered an executive session.
July 30th?
July 30th, yeah.
The public hearing for proposed local law E was
The flood.
the
law
flood
changes.
damage prevention law to meet
Yeah.
standards.
And that law was passed.
Yes, that was
I
passed.
had a note to fill it in later, and they didn't do it. They didn't say why they entered executive session. The Country Club, I'm assuming it's the old Ithaca Country Club?
Which one?
Yeah, the Rain Act.
The Rain Act one, yeah. Yep,
The what?
Rain Act, the one there in Cayuga Heights, like by
Yeah,
the
the
fire
old
station, yeah.
Ithaca
The old-
Country.
Because they closed, I didn't know a couple of years ago, but they closed the Ithaca Country Club. I didn't know it got
Yep.
resuscitated. as a
somebody
country
bought
club.
it.
Yes,
Yeah, it's been resuscitated a while ago, wasn't it?
Cut down a lot of trees, yeah.
Yeah, he bought
Cut down a
it.
lot of trees.
Oh, they did, did you hear
They
that one?
cut down a lot of trees.
It's in the village.
It's in the village, Cayuga Heights, so.
Go up there and count them? No. Oh, that's right, it's Cuba Heights, I forgot.
Yeah,
Sure, I've hit all over my golf ball, though.
Yeah. I understand.
presumably there'll be more information sent out about the memorial on July 30th.
Oh, I'm sure Jody will send us the motion
Yeah.
to us.
Probably send it to all of the,
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on the PDA, that was discussed there, yeah, it really was, there were concerns about the same things that we had concerns about, right? So Pat was there, which is good. Carolyn was there, right? There were concerns about height, there were concerns about density, there were a lot of concerns about other things. And, there was a question, does it come to us? Does the developer come to us? And it was really decided that, all rightfully so, I didn't say anything, but, Pat and Carolyn both kind of shared with the developer that if they came to the planning board with the exact proposal that they just presented to the trustees, we were gonna have the exact same concerns, and it wasn't gonna go anywhere. So if they wanted to make changes and then come back to the trustees, that would probably be the best and/or better and/or only course of action, rather than
Good for
coming to
them.
us. So, yeah.
No,
So I think yeah. So I don't think there was anything else really on it.
No, I mean, the discussion was very good.
Appreciate your elaboration.
like,
It was-
like the same discussion every time.
Cut right to the
I
chase.
know,
Yeah,
thank God,
yeah.
I was like, because I was video and I was like, yay, Pat, I mean, if they don't understand it now, they never will.
No, I thought it was a very good discussion and very honest with the developers, so they have decisions to make, and
Yeah,
Yeah, went on, it was pretty thorough, went on for quite a while.
yeah.
It was a good discussion.
Mike, can you let us know who is the next?
Yeah, I'm gonna send
I did, I asked,
Send us
asked too,
a
because
schedule,
I will
please,
send it all out.
tell us who's on deck for July.
I can at least tell you that right now.
or at least through the end of the year.
Lisa,
It
it's
is,
July, I am August.
oh my God,
September.
it really is me?
October is a question mark, which means I need to start back over with, oh, I know, I have done.
or joint meeting.
The joint meeting, I'm going to be away.
Yeah.
It's the 21st,
Okay.
but
So
still.
then you don't have to report on that one.
No, I don't, but I do on the 7th, which is a problem, but.
So I do want to go around to do other business, and then we do have somebody interested in the planning board who's going to introduce themselves, but I figured I would start with other business first. After the introduction, we are going to adjourn to executive session to talk about planning board appointments, so.
To talk about what?
Planning board appointments. Lorraine?
So of course I have a few things. So I wanted to follow up, Lisa had mentioned at the last meeting that I was not at, about, she had heard about Subway closing.
Yeah,
So I just want to confirm, the Subway that's closing is the Subway at the mall, and its last day is Friday. I actually talked to the owner. He owns the one at the mall and the one down in the Buttermilk Falls area. Yeah, he's,
the mall, not the one where Jazzercise was.
nope, at the mall,
okay.
actual.
Okay.
I just wanted to close the loop for you on that. I also, this is a question for Mike Scott. So Jody mentioned the other day that Michael Pitchell finally sold 134 Graham to someone, or is about to sell.
I cannot really say anything.
Oh, okay, it sounded like it was sold, but
Yeah.
anyway, I wanted to ask you about that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people here that would be happy to hear that, and she said it was somebody from State College,
Yeah,
and,
I can't, I really
okay,
can't.
all
say
right,
anything about it.
okay.
What else?
And 130 Graham is where?
134, it used to be called Covered Bridge Apartments a
Oh,
long time ago.
that
It's that
complex.
rundown place that's an
Okay.
eyesore, yeah, for that neighborhood. I don't know what it's called now.
Rental in the area.
Huh?
The only affordable rental.
Oh, right, and it's probably going to displace a lot of people. But anyway, my other question was, what's going on over at Taco Bell? Did they have a sewer problem over there?
A what?
None that I'm aware of.
Oh, they got a bunch of workers, the whole place is like, there's been workers there
One
all
of the
week.
things is they still have a temporary CFC come over the winter for their landscaping, for their parking lot, and for a little bit of stormwater issue, which
Oh.
extended because they've had a hard time getting
Contract.
asphalt because the Lansing plant's closed down, so I extended it another month, and they've been, Mike McCracken, he probably remembers.
He was very good to work with.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
been working with me on it, and that's probably what you've seen.
Yeah, they've been working like crazy over there. And I did notice, so I was, when I was driving through, I drove closer so I could see what was going on. And there was like a huge puddle in one of the driveway areas, like it was like flooded out. But yeah, there's quite a few guys working over there. They've got it all flagged off.
If there's another issue as far as inside, I have not heard of that.
Oh, it looks like it's all outside around the one side. That's all I got.
Don't have anything.
Lisa?
Oh, well, the one thing is, yeah, that property had come up with Eric in 2017. And so and we had some plans at that time that were similar to the one that Chris kind of had. But anyway, when I was coming back from Massachusetts last week, I went through Hartford, and they have a reader board, visual reader board, which I don't care for, but they were advertising positions that were open in their municipality. So we had talked about that being a possibility. And so I just want everyone to know that it is done in other places, so that maybe it's something we really should seriously consider.
And what was it?
It said planning board position open, BZA needs, a new member, that it was
I mean, putting it on the sign,
on our sandwich board or whatever, I call them reader boards, but
Yeah.
pylon, whatever.
idea.
which is better than an electronic
Yeah.
signs.
No, I don't like the electronics one, they're very distracting, I think that's
Yeah.
one of the things, because people wait to see it change and. But I just wanted everyone to know that it isn't a too far out idea, actually.
It's a good idea, and it's free.
New letters, maybe.
Yeah.
Might not have enough letters. No, I've not, there was something like, I remember thinking I would ask, and then I forgot what it was, so, nope, good.
Only that, so the Ithaca Mall is set as one of the county's cooling centers. And I don't know if,
Saw that.
if that's something that we make sure that our village folks know in this heat that, you know, I mean, obviously people will just go anyway, but there is, at the health department,
they're
at the
welcome.
county level, they've posted that this is a place that welcomes folks in this heat.
The website had something about heat.
You know, again, I just want to bring up the Tompkins siren that the village now has access to. I don't think it's being utilized the way it should, and an example is the other day, Monday, I was coming down Graham Road, and I saw that there was work. There were workers at the end of Graham Road. I don't know, Mike, you probably know what was going on. There were several utility trucks, and it was one lane. It would be nice to get a message sent out on the siren so village people know. I mean, I get messages all the time from all these other municipalities. And if I had known, I wouldn't have come down Graham because the traffic started to back up and I would have gone around. But again, this would be another message that should have gone out. When it was posted, I saw it on Facebook somewhere about all the cooling stations.
Yeah.
That would have been another reason to, I'm not yelling at you, I'm sorry, I know it sounds like I am, and it's not your fault.
No, I'll say something to Jody about it, suggest something to her. The utility people were in here last Thursday, I believe, and said that they were, Jody had told them they needed to talk to John Courtney, and John wasn't here that day, and I guess they started up and went through. And Jody had warned them that, you know, the village is quite strict as far as they like their trees and not to butcher them or make them look like goalposts when they're done with them like they normally do. We didn't realize they were going to be starting that quick.
Yeah, they were there Monday morning. But anyway, that's just an example. It would be nice to utilize that siren and have her send out a message. Also the cooling, you know, locations, something like that.
I feel like that's more a county.
Yeah, that is more of a county.
But it should be done, and they should do it.
Well, the cooling centers, I mean, they've posted to their Facebook and their website and stuff like that.
There wouldn't be no reason why the Village of Lansing couldn't send it out on siren, just letting people know if you're in need of a place, the mall is open.
I think it absolutely rises to the level of a community emergency. I mean, considering that schools were closed today because of the heat.
I mean, we're a small community, right? It's like.
Yeah. And the thing about the siren is, when you sign up for the places that you're interested in. So if we post it, it's not going to go to everybody, it's just going to go to people who need to be in the village, so.
Right, because.
Emergency, traffic closures, that kind of thing.
And people can change their settings, so they don't have to get, if they don't want to get any Village of Lansing messages, they can uncheck that, right? I just happen to get like.
Yeah, Mike will follow up with Jody and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, anyway, I'm just suggesting.
Again, my thought would be that the county should do it, right, but in lieu, if they're not gonna do it, then yeah, we should send something.
Yeah.
I get alerts from DOT when they're working on certain roads down and around Ithaca, great, it would be nice to get those up.
I do
too.
too.
I think that should be their responsibility to send it out, but if they're not going to, we will, or we
The thing
can.
is, there's a lot of village roads, like, for
Yeah.
instance, this morning on Cayuga Heights Road, they were doing some sort of, I don't know. They were
Resurfacing or something?
They were filling cracks.
Yes, I figured that when I would get my mail, and I
Yeah, 'cause I thought
stepped
something
in
was
it.
going on with my
Almost
air
definitely,
conditioner.
yeah.
And I thought, am I going to be putting this in my garage?
Yeah, and it was down to one lane, when I was
missed
traveling
it.
through, it was down to one lane over at the pinch point, where it meets 34. That's a village road, and that's something that we should alert people about. So I think I would also very much appreciate, just like you're saying, Lorraine, to have a little more communication, I think is better when it comes to things like traffic, health, safety.
Absolutely, there's just not enough of it.
I think, again, as long as we know about it, we can.
Yeah, I was
You know,
going to say.
there's a lot.
I mean, I realize everybody's busy, and it just means one more step of looking outside the box and thinking ahead.
My point is, it's not gonna be perfect, the DOT doesn't have to inform us when they're working on roads in the village.
Oh, okay.
So right, they should, they don't have, right, it's not like they're coming and applying for a building permit or a special permit. The utility work, sure, but there's gonna be times that they're out there doing stuff and they're just not gonna let us know. But if we know, yeah, we can send them out. I guess Michael check with Jody and see what that, Ronnie, whoever, to see what that process looks like.
Now, there may be issues with the sign up, because a few months ago, I don't remember what it was something somewhat major, and I went online, to check to see what I had signed up for, and stuff I had signed up for, I wasn't getting phone calls on, because I signed up for phone calls and emails, and I wasn't getting communication on whatever those things were. Again, it was several months ago, so I'm a
Guess I should sign up, huh?
vague in this, but that's kind of consistent with people saying they aren't getting notices. And you may have signed up for them and not get them.
I get them, but
I get
there's
them.
nothing that we sign.
Yeah, I mean, there are some days I'll get five different ones for different reasons. But some things handy, you know.
But how do you get them?
I get them by text message.
Okay, yeah, and
Just go away, it doesn't stack.
I did not sign up for text,
But emails do.
sign up for, voicemail, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
no,
email.
I have,
Yep, next, anything else, Amelia?
Yep, that was it.
Jonathan?
So do I just kind of bring up whatever?
Yeah,
I think-
that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Make sure to ask Mike questions.
Two things come to mind. One, I know that we're doing this big proliferation of sidewalks for the village, and it's apparently going very well from what I've been reading. I don't know the difference from before and where we're at now, but it reads like it's going very well in the right direction. Thinking about that in like a different perspective was, I was trying to think of decent bike trails. Because when you read what the mayor wants to achieve for the village, and I guess what the survey is sort of indicating as well, we want this like quiet, quaint, accessible, but also eco-friendly trees everywhere sort of feel for the village of Lansing, right? And so there is no backbone bike trail that takes you, people ride their bikes up and down Cayuga Heights all the time, right? They go from State all the way through up to 34, and it's really kind of dangerous.
No kidding.
But it could be a really awesome bike path, right? And it could have access to Trip Hammer, and we could be looking at these development plans with like people who come in and they know that bicycles are coming in to be able to be accessible to these areas. And I've spent time living in California and in Florida where people make this into like very big hobbies of themselves. They'll ride 30 miles, they'll ride, like a whole Saturday or Sunday or something. They do that here too? Yeah.
Absolutely. They go around the lake. They go around the lake.
Huge route for that.
Yeah, people love to have a destination, right? They like to be able to go and have brunch and lunch and hit up a winery or something like that, right? And that's just like, it feels like it's really within the same vision and feel for this area, but it's not at all what I've heard as a plan. And it could also improve a lot of the issues that we're seeing with speeders on some of these roads too, because it mean that you'd have, it's a huge undertaking, right, to think of Cayuga Heights Road being expanded width-wise. That's kind of insane, especially since it was just repaved and redone. But the general sentiment here being that if we were to think about this more as an option going forward, that it would maybe sort of exist and happen sort of organically, right?
So I do think there, sorry, Lisa, you can go ahead.
But
I do think there's a project from the town into the village or some sort of connected trail that I think Carolyn Greenwald goes to meetings regarding.
Yes.
I don't know if that trail is intended to be bike and pedestrian, though I think it is.
It's just pedestrian.
Oh, really? I thought it was bike, but not motor, like motorized.
Oh, maybe it is, okay.
Some obvious issues that I think they're encountering is cost and obtaining easements.
I was saying
for
eminent
that
domain
type of
stuff,
trail.
yeah, or easements.
Yeah.
It's costly. It's a.
But I do think there is a project of that nature in the works between the town and the village.
The other thing too, I would say is that we've done a pretty good job with sidewalks, not a perfect job. But when people come to the planning board to say, hey, I want to develop this area, or I want to make these changes, we can hold their feet to the fire. For instance, there was a development not that long ago that was able to be put in without sidewalks. And it's because they begged and said the cost and the this and the that, and we approved it without that. But that was our choice as a planning board to say, I think we can let that happen. But I think what ends up happening is that when you have an exception like that, and you make an exception like that, the next development that comes up next to it says, well, they don't have sidewalks, so if I put a sidewalk and I'm connecting to nothing, and then you end up with this patchwork thing, so then that gets development, an exception too. So I think what it means is that as a body, we need to think about being really consistent and really sticking to making those decisions about sidewalks and bikeways and stuff like that, and really sticking to it, and just having a very strong voice as a group saying, we're gonna hold these standards.
When did our sidewalk code is not that old, actually. It's within the last 7 years, maybe, where we did not say you had to put in a sidewalk as a developer. And I mean, are you talking about the one in Millcroft where we didn't do it in the middle?
And yeah, he put like a stone path, and it's gonna be a 55 and older community, and I thought to myself, well, oh my
There was a
goodness.
sidewalk around the other, I remember that discussion, and, yeah.
Because that came in, it came in for like some other secondary
But at any
approval
rate,
after
yeah.
I joined the planning board. I'm like, wait, we let them do that. But I think, the more we have those voices to say, let's always think about that, the better. On another planning board that I was part of, we had one person who was a bicycle advocate. And every single time something
Where's
came
the
up.
bicycle?
Where's the bike lane, where's the bike lane? And it didn't always come in, it wasn't always appropriate,
gotta
but it
start
was really nice to make sure that, like, as a board, we had one person who would always make sure to ask that question.
Well, I still say we need a checklist that has all these questions on it, and every time we do a project, because what if he's not here?
That's right, yeah.
Somebody else would be the advocate, so at any rate, but,
Yeah, I mean, a bike lane would be
well.
really
it's-
awesome,
it's-
right? But that's a commuter thing too,
It's a
right?
commitment,
And
too.
I'm just wondering if we've ever sat down and looked at the plan, like in the village, and gone further south and further north and said, how do we make a bike path, like a
We have not.
really amazing network
We have
bike
not.
path? That's never been.
Yeah, but that might be something that Carolyn, at least to an extent, is aware of. But that's just getting, right, I'm sure to the edge of the village, or someplace, maybe not all the way to the middle. No, that's a good point. I bike up Burdick Hill and, bike all the way up Trip Hammer and to Cornell. So. It would be much better if there was I love going over the bridge over 13 on my bike, believe me, it's one of my most favorite things in the world. Yeah, and very safe. What else?
So the other one was, I believe you had touched on it a little bit while I sat in on my very first meeting, was just how hard it is to deal with the speeding that happens in the village, right? Because a lot of these roads, they don't have legitimate ways for slowing things down that are required. I think you talked about how that had been looked into. So you can't put speed humps in the middle of a road, right? And I was just curious, like, how deep that rabbit hole had gone, and like, have we talked about dropping the village speed limit to 25? And like, would that even have an impact, right? Or if people are gonna do 50 and a 30, they'll do 50 and a 25. But the village of Cayuga Heights has their own law enforcement that kind of sits on the road and nabs people there. We have zero presence that I've seen, because we get Tompkins County to come in, right? And so
The sheriff.
I mean, you could,
Coming into the village on Father's Day for speeding. They were out and about.
I see them on 13.
Yeah.
I see them around the
outside
village.
vet's office.
I'll see state troopers up here, I'll see the county sheriffs around, but yeah, it's not as consistent as Cayuga Heights.
Problem is that so much of our roads are straight. They are nice,
People love
straight
to come up
roads.
Burdick Hill.
And Cayuga Heights too, once they get past the S-curve, they just take off.
I've seen
And they
people
come
actually pass other people on
yes,
Cayuga
yes.
Heights. And I'm just like,
They're crazy.
this is a 30 mile an hour.
I've
People are out with
said-
their kids right there.
I was passed one time on Oak Crest going 35, I was going 35, which is my max, I'll go.
Yeah.
I can tell by the sound of my car, and somebody passed me.
Yeah, I believe
And of course, I get up to the stop sign here, and they're waiting to
Yeah.
pull out.
Sure.
And it's just frustrating, that's all. But
So, it's more like, what do we have as
We
mechanisms
don't,
to help,
yeah.
help slow this down, right? Roundabouts are one way, but you can't put roundabouts everywhere.
Ames.
What?
Oh,
Yeah, I mean.
like zigzags into the road?
But that works.
It works, and you don't have to do too many of them, you just figure out where your straightaway is, and it's something like,
I've
there's a
even,
calculation for, it's like 300 feet or something like that.
I've even thought of at where Oak Crest is, to have a stop sign, but I hate stop signs where But then you're going to have people peeling out in the middle of the night, you know, it's just, I don't know.
I think people would just run that stop sign.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which makes it worse.
I don't think I'd get a lot of peeling. I think people would just run it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
But I'm sure there's a traffic control devices out there, and
But at
some of
any rate-
them can be applied, and
For the
like, maybe even one of those like flashing, you're going too fast things in
Those
certain
actually,
places, they kind of work.
They work.
you know?
Yeah, those things are
I
actually.
mean, you could start a petition. If this is happening in your neighborhood, you could start a petition, have people sign it, and then, I don't know, who would you turn it into?
Mike, just for.
Oh, to Mike? Oh.
Just for.
Oh, sorry, Mike. I'm not, I didn't realize you'd be the one that would have to be turned into.
This was brought up several times at our due meeting for the board of trustees, and the question was asked to John Courtney, because he knows a lot more about
traffic, yeah.
obviously than I do. Speed bumps were brought up, speed bumps would be an issue when it comes to plowing, that type of thing, where they're gonna be replacing them all the time. And also, the same thing you asked was, can you drop the speed limit below 30? And I believe, you check with John, I believe if
There's some
it's something
state
about,
regs.
unless it's a school zone,
Yeah.
you can drop it below 30 miles an
I
hour.
think that's.
There's a couple of exceptions already in the village, though, so I'm wondering how those maybe came to be.
Yeah, so that's something you might want to.
Depends on where they are.
He'd be glad to talk to you about it.
What you could do, if you declare a road a shared bikeway, so, what do they call it, a bike boulevard. So for instance, an example that we may have all driven on, on Tioga Street in the city of Ithaca.
Oh, yeah.
Tioga Street is 25,
Cayuga Street, too.
but it's not marked that way.
Oh, it's not.
So Tioga Street was declared a bike boulevard, so the only thing that they did is they drew in some sharrows. So, those little arrows that have the little bike symbol on them to say.
And then the green hat.
And then, no, not there, not in Tioga. Tioga is just the asphalt, but it always has been with sharrows put onto the road, 25-mile-an-hour signs, and then down by the courthouse, they did put in some humps. Humps are not necessary, but if you do declare a road a bike boulevard, you can use that as a mechanism for lowering the speed limit. But it means you mark it as such, and you advertise it as such, and you make sure that there's some sort of accountability somehow to go with
That's the
that.
problem for us, is the accountability, because we do not have a police force.
Yeah.
That's the problem we have.
I mean, you could start taking
And it isn't just this, it's.
Sheriff's Department or whatever, but.
Enforcement
Well,
in
not even,
general.
but on Cayuga Heights Road, where could you even pull somebody over?
Yeah.
There is no space
It's all,
to pull
all
somebody
of it's
over.
You have
dangerous.
to follow somebody over to Oak Crest and
And then they're gonna
maybe.
be, yeah.
They would just pull you over on the street. It's a,
But then
it's,
you're causing an obstruction for everybody else.
They do that anyway.
And unsafe.
I've never seen that. as
We
a
at least have a bit of
stopping force for that.
shouldering.
The short answer is yes, it's been brought up, and there's not been a lot of traction on it.
Yeah. But I mean, one of
But
the things
it's-
we could do is talk about how, like, when a new development comes in.
I was
how do
gonna
we-
say,
can
this-
you
we
add
gotta
bike lane?
start-
Can you make it a complete street? And it's not gonna change it in.
Overnight, but it-
Overnight, but you do
But
want
that's how,
development in
that's how
time.
sidewalks came to be though, too.
That's right.
Yeah.
If it, if there is an appropriate development or the restructuring of a road, maybe it is a good time to ask about bike lanes. I would love bike lanes. So maybe it is that, at least that's something the planning board can do from our perspective from the start without, some, village-wide plan. We can at least ask these questions and
Yeah.
see what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate that Cayuga got completely torn up and redone,
Yes.
and it didn't get like just a little bit extra
Believe
to
me,
make that happen. And I'm sure there's lots of good reasons why it didn't, but
But it's always about money.
if it was something that was more enforced at this level, right, then maybe it would have happened.
If we, well, we didn't even, like I said, we didn't even have a sidewalk code until about 7.
Yeah.
And so we kept saying, oh, it would be really nice to, can't afford it. Well, now you have to. You want to do this project, you got to afford it.
Not to belabor it, but yeah, let's keep it.
But Natalie's made a good point then, too, is sometimes it is a sidewalk to nowhere, but eventually.
Yeah.
If everybody has a sidewalk to nowhere, eventually it'll be a sidewalk to somewhere. So we keep chipping away at it.
And we
that's all
we can add that sort of thing. Mike released that, or gave us that flow chart that does have a lot of the questions that we should be asking in the right project, and we can add that on there too.
Yeah.
So, if it's appropriate for the, right, it all depends, right? If somebody's coming in for a special permit I'll pick and say I want BHATs at my house, because that's a thing, right? We're not gonna make you put in a sidewalk or a bike path around your house because you want to do beats.
But even with what he was
Absolutely.
proposing, there should be a sidewalk on the trip hammer side,
Absolutely.
that what he was proposing.
Yes.
Which we didn't even get into yet, but.
No,
Okay, well, I do,
we look at 20 and 30 years ahead, you know? So like, if you think about what can we do this year, it can get frustrating because you're like, well, this isn't changed, that's not changed, but if you're thinking about how we can shift the fabric over the course of, you know, a decade or 2 decades, then it really does make a huge difference to just ask that question every time.
That's right. Well, we've made,
yeah, and we'll start doing that.
we have made some progress in sidewalks, but there's a lot to be.
I would love to see a poster of like a complete street or things that are required or whatever, just the same way we have this up, just to remind us of, let's ask questions.
I think we each just have a little.
Mike sent a thing out with it all.
I mean, with the PDA.
We can update it like that.
Yeah.
Update, but we can, I do want to be conscious of the time, because
I was gonna say, 'cause-
So, you sure?
Good work.
Just real quick, as you know, East Point 2,
Oh, I know.
DOA.
It's disappointing.
20 Bomax is coming back August 4th to the Board of Trustees for another proposal. And the reason why Lisa brought up the whole BZA thing is we are short members on the BZA, and we desperately need people. I'm having a hard time getting a quorum, whether people are just out of town or they're sick, yes, but it's just tough getting people. So if you know anybody out there looking to be on the BZA, it only meets
It's pretty low
4
key.
times a year. That's all it is, as needed. Please put the.
Is it a compensated position?
I
It's like
think,
$75.
Yes.
I think so.
but it's, yes, it is.
Yeah, that makes a difference for some people.
Yes, I was gonna say,
For some people, that's the difference between like paying for a babysitter or not.
that's right, that's how it all came about.
That's all I got.
All right.
Okay, so before we do adjourn to executive session, I did want to, Kevin. Kevin. I know, right?
Oh, this has been fascinating.
We didn't want to do it right at the beginning.
He's been eyeing the door ever since he.
I know, yeah, he did. But at the trustee meeting, I told Jonathan first to remind him so that he could leave. But I'll let Kevin introduce himself. So yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us where you live, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in the planning board, and then people will have some easy questions, or maybe some hard ones, who knows? I don't know if I've heard a hard one, but.
Well, my name's Kevin Calvington. My wife Deborah and I have lived for 16 years in the village, 2 years renting, 14 in our house, and the sharp turn on Dart Drive. So we've seen a lot of development around us, the sidewalk project. Full disclosure, Mike helped me get a curb cut.
You'd like it? Oh, I was gonna say.
We have seen terrible speeding on Dart Drive. That's
Yes.
an issue for me. I've emailed the mayor, I've offered to let the police set in my bottom driveway, I guess they won't do that. I need to thank you all for what you've done to keep the village the way it is. It's why we've never wanted to move. We walk everywhere. I'm not a bike rider, but anything we can do to add places to walk to and get food, constantly, my wife and I are all over the plazas, we live so close. To have an opportunity to be involved in all this it would be amazing. A lot more to it than I realized.
I was.
Sounds suspicious. I actually did, there was an hour-long course on the state site that I went through just to get a whole overview of what the planning board does, and yeah, I think it'd be a great experience for me.
That might count towards an hour of the required training.
I know, right?
Great. What questions do folks have? I know people always ask some things here and there.
So what's your background? What brought you to Ithaca?
I actually came up here, I was an artist. I started out as an artist. Right now I work at Cornell in IT. I'm the first hardware repair service manager at CIT. I took over a service from a vendor that figured it out, so we fixed all the hardware up here. I came up here with friends of mine who have since passed away that ran a gallery downtown in the Commons. It used to be called the C-Spot Gallery. It's long gone. Unfortunately, they both had terrible health issues and passed away in their 40s, so.
Oh, my gosh.
It's pretty sad. Right now, I'm helping manage his artwork, his collection, and get it sold and with his family. It's a side project. They're paying to get it scanned in and get posters made, so that's sort of my hobby right now. I'm doing some art for a realtor that my wife's friends with these folks are moving out of town, and sold a house they lived in for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
She wanted to give them a nice sketch of their house, so. I'm not an architect, so it's a little frustrating to get all the angles right in perspective on a house, but at least got me back into sketching, doing the job. If we're not gonna suck that out of you a bit.
Yeah.
It's gonna come home and not think, so. Other than that, play a lot of video games. My wife walks the dog all over the neighborhood, if you cover that area.
I saw you guys walking the dog
Yeah, I
somewhere a couple.
What kind of dog?
It's a Morkie, Albie, the whole neighborhood knows him because he's a little jerk. It's 5 pounds of fury, takes on every big dog
Oh,
he
funny.
sees.
You must love that new sidewalk.
Oh, yeah, that was great. We didn't really have, I don't know if there was complaints, but I thought the project was great. It went smoothly. We never had a problem with anybody or anything. It's been a huge bonus, at least I think probably to our property value.
Yeah.
At least it's much safer.
Yes.
As far as we get passed all the time on the road, I've sent emails to the mayor. I said, I yell at everybody. He's like, that's what I do. I don't know what the solution is for that. That's like a drag strip over there, but.
Walk with a brick in your hand.
I used to live at the Meadows. I lived at the Meadows for like 13 years. I moved there in like 2006. I haven't lived there for the last 6, but prior to that, the state troopers and the sheriff used to sit down, sit in the cul-de-sac right there. Well, right there, right in the corner, they would hide, and.
There's not.
But they don't,
hide anymore.
they don't do it anymore ever since that duplex was built. They stopped, and I don't know why, because there's still room for them, but I've been walking that sidewalk. I live at East Point, so a lot of times I'll walk the trails and then cut through the Hartel Park and then come down the sidewalk and come around by the Meadows. I can't even tell you how many times people are like going 50, 60 miles an hour. I've seen people like, one day, all of a sudden I heard all this squealing, and I was afraid to turn around and look, because I thought that guy was gonna end up in your house. It was probably some young.
Oh, yeah, in the turn.
Oh, my God, yeah, I was waiting for the crash. It was one of those where I heard the squealing, and I was just waiting for the crash before I turned around, but he would have crashed right into your house, because he was coming right around that corner, you know?
We've had, I don't know how many people we've helped over the years that have gone straight.
I was walking once, and I was coming down, there was before the sidewalk was on, and it was before the duplex was built, and they were coming from, I didn't realize it was Graham Road there, I thought it was all Graham Road everywhere, and they were on Graham, and they went sailing right through into the shrubs, where the duplex was now built. I mean,
Ronnie shared some story about that too, but.
oh my gosh, and I thought if I had been walking, because I always walk facing traffic like you're supposed to do, and I would have been right there, and it's just like, geez, but at any rate,
I was gonna say, what other question?
I was gonna say, so, Mike, I believe, perhaps fills you in on how often we meet. Do you have any questions about all of that? Like, we meet, well, I'll tell you, since Jonathan, I don't know whether you knew that.
I know, yeah.
You have weird, it's the second Monday and the last Tuesday of every month, so twice a month, and then we do have duties where we sometimes cover the Board of Trustee meetings, but we often do that on Zoom now. And it is a compensated position, and sort of.
If you're an alternate, it's only compensated if you're a voting member.
That's right.
But if you're a voting member, it's always compensated.
And he almost got it. For 2 minutes. Oh, my God, prorated. Prorated. I think you made $2.50. Jim, you owe him, I mean, for being late. You owe him $2.50 from out
Yeah. So we have a chair and then 4 other members that are permanent members, and then we love to have at least one alternate, because oftentimes someone's traveling or whatever. And I will be stepping down from my position. I've been a full member for 3 whole meetings. I was an alternate for the longest time, but I'm moving out of town. So I'll be stepping down from that position. So there'll be a full member position and then an alternate position that we'd love to fill.
And as you can see, it's not boring.
No.
It's very interesting, it really, really is. I've been on for a very long time. And so it's exciting to have younger people be interested. But I got in 15 years ago, and it's just I've never, I've never really gotten too bored, I can tell you. Sometimes it can be difficult, though. I mean, there's times where it hasn't been lately, but we've had some issues where we've made some decisions that people weren't happy with, and so hasn't happened in a long time, though, has it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about where you have a bunch of people coming in from a neighborhood, but I think if the communication is open and good, and we do our job, that it's really helped with that a lot. So, do you have any other questions, though, for us about something we can help you understand better?
Can I get a crosswalk sign?
Maybe you'll have extra pull if you can. I don't know. No, maybe, I don't know.
It's one of those, you can't, it's, it's the same thing about the speed bumps or speed humps, you can't just put them in the middle of nowhere. You also can't just put crosswalks to nowhere.
Or stop
Or a sign, I
signs. Or
mean,
stop signs. There are laws.
I hear you can order signs on Amazon, I'm just saying, did Eric do that? That's where he got his one-way effort sighting on Amazon. Maybe it wasn't Amazon, but I think it was Amazon.
Or on both sides of the street.
There you go.
And you have a crosswalk.
Well, okay, well, yeah, other than that, we're gonna adjourn to executive session. We are not gonna reconvene after that. But yeah, we'll follow up with you, I'll email you and follow up with you with anything you need to know. Thank you.
Thanks for coming and sitting through the whole meeting tonight.
Maybe I'll come and listen to it, maybe I'm not really interested.
We record them on YouTube if you wanna go and catch up on everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Good night, Kevin.
Cool, thanks. But so with that, we are going to adjourn to executive session. I'll entertain a motion to do that at 9:02 PM, and we will not be reconvening afterwards.
I move to convene an executive session and not reconvene afterwards.
Second. Emila, second by Lisa. I guess all in favor? Aye.
Bye.
So there were just a couple things that I wanted.
Are we turned off?
Oh, no, he's going to.